Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Your Freedom Show. Please subscribe to support our growing community. And welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into Ken Fisher's The 10 Roads to Riches.
Oh, this is a great one. It's definitely not your typical finance book.
No, definitely not. Forget the touchy-feely money mantras. Fisher gives this, brutally honest, sometimes actually funny look at how people really become wealthy.
Yeah, unfiltered is a good word for it. It's not about some secret formula. It's more like a realistic map of the different paths out there.
Complete with potholes and detours, as you might expect.
Exactly. What's really compelling about Fisher, I think, is that he grounds everything in reality. He's not just, theorizing up in the clouds.
Wait.
He's pointing to actual concrete ways people have made serious money, often in ways that, frankly, aren't discussed much in polite financial circles.
It's definitely a dose of pragmatism, isn't it?
A refreshing one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to pull out the most important insights from Fisher's framework. The goal is to help you, the listener, get a much clearer understanding of these different routes to wealth.
It's about strategy.
Yeah, equipping you with the knowledge to think strategically about your own financial journey, not just get lost in abstract ideas. This is really about making informed choices.
And it's so crucial to get this, like Fisher really emphasizes, this isn't about finding the one right way that works for absolutely everyone.
No.
It's about recognizing that there are different landscapes, different ways to approach wealth creation.
Okay, so let's lay out the terrain then. Here are Ken Fisher's 10 roads to riches, the main ways he's seen people build significant wealth.
Okay, lay 'em on us.
All right. Number 1, start a business. 2, become CEO of an existing business. 3, climb the corporate ladder.
Pretty standard so far.
Right. 4, become a famous entertainer, athlete, or artist. 5, work in sales and collect those commissions. 6, invent or innovate something.
Okay, get you a bit broader now.
7, invest wisely. Stocks, real estate, that kind of thing. 8, marry well. Yes, he actually includes that one.
Yeah, that always gets a reaction.
9, sue your way to riches. And finally, 10, inherit, or again, marry into money.
So as you can hear, it's a really broad spectrum, isn't it?
It really is.
Some of those sound totally familiar, things we think about all the time. Others might be a bit, well, surprising or maybe even controversial.
Definitely.
But what's interesting is Fisher doesn't really filter these based on like conventional morality or what's nice. He's just observing what actually works, for better or worse.
Exactly. Sue your way to riches. I mean, you're not going to see that headlining a weekend wealth seminar.
Right.
Really.
Probably not, no.
But Fisher's point is simply that these are real pathways people have taken. And it's vital, absolutely vital, to acknowledge that each one comes with its own unique set of risks, different timelines, and some pretty significant demands. We'll definitely dig into those.
Yeah, and that actually leads us perfectly into Fisher's first core principle, which is really foundational.
Yeah.
Know thy road, then own it.
Okay, let's unpack that. Know thy road, then own it. What's the core message there?
It's really about alignment. Fisher's saying you've got to pick a path, one of those 10, that truly resonates with your inherent strengths, your personality, and maybe just as importantly, what you can tolerate.
Your tolerances.
Yeah, he almost talks about it like your DNA. If you're naturally a builder, someone who loves creating things from scratch, forcing yourself into a highly structured, maybe political, corporate job, well, it might just feel like a constant uphill battle. You won't thrive.
That makes sense. It's about deep self-awareness, then.
Exactly. What are you genuinely good at? What kind of risks can you actually stomach without panicking? How resilient are you when you face setbacks or rejection? Because you will face them.
Oh, absolutely.
These are like critical questions to ask yourself when you're looking at those 10 roads and thinking which one or maybe which combination fits me.
And to really make this concrete, think about Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Her road was clearly start a business.
Textbook example.
But she faced just relentless no's from manufacturers early on. She didn't have the connections, but what she did have was this incredible self-belief.
And grit.
Totally. A willingness to personally hit the pavement, demonstrating her own product in department stores. That kind of unwavering drive, that pure entrepreneurial spirit, that's what ultimately got her to billionaire status.
Right. Her story is such a perfect illustration of that start a business road and the sheer resilience it demands.
And what's key there with Blakely is that synergy, right? Between her natural inclination she wanted to create, solve a problem she had, And the demands of being an entrepreneur.
Exactly. She wasn't trying to be someone she wasn't. She was leveraging her unique skills to build something new. And that's really the heart of this principle. Pick a path that clicks with who you fundamentally are.
Which leads us kind of seamlessly, actually, to Fisher's second big idea. Rich is a strategy, not an accident.
Ah, yes. Here, Fisher really takes aim at that whole myth of overnight success.
Right, the lottery ticket mentality.
Yeah, exactly. He argues pretty forcefully that significant wealth is rarely just a stroke of pure luck. It's usually the result of deliberate, strategic action over time.
And each of those 10 roads we listed, they have specific levers you can pull to build wealth.
Levers, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. So if you pick the sales road, right, your strategy has to focus on mastering persuasion, building real client relationships, understanding how to structure deals to maximize your commissions, maybe eventually building a team to scale up. That's the strategy.
Okay.
Or if you're aiming for the corporate ladder, your strategy involves like navigating office politics, making sure your wins are visible to the right people, and strategically planning your moves, promotions, key projects, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. And investing.
And for the investor path, the strategy is all about long-term thinking, really understanding compounding and developing the discipline, and this is key, the discipline to avoid those emotional, impulsive decisions when the market gets choppy.
And a fantastic example of that investor road, just executed brilliantly with strategy, has to be Warren Buffett.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't realize the vast majority of his huge fortune was actually built after he turned 50.
Wow, after 50.
Yeah, it wasn't luck. It was decades of consistently applying his value investing principles, reinvesting those returns, and just patiently letting compounding do its incredible work. He picked his road early and stayed on it strategically for decades.
That's actually really empowering when you think about it.
How so?
Well, it means the sooner you identify the road you want to be on, the sooner you can start learning the specific strategies and building the expertise you need to really, make progress on that path. It's not just about waiting for lightning to strike.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a principle that some listeners might find a little unconventional, maybe even uncomfortable.
Oh.
Fisher's third core idea: don't moralize the money.
Yeah, okay. Don't moralize the money. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
It does. Fisher basically argues that when it comes to actually accumulating wealth, it's not necessarily about being, conventionally nice or always playing fair in the way we might think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about understanding the rules of the game for the road you've chosen and then being willing to accept the inherent trade-offs that come with it.
Okay, trade-off. So this is where those, let's say, less traditional paths like marry well or inheritance really come into focus.
Exactly. Fisher isn't necessarily endorsing these paths as like morally superior or anything. He's just acknowledging they are real avenues to wealth that exist.
Right. He mentions Anna Nicole Smith, right?
Yeah.
And her marriage to the elderly billionaire.
He does. It's a well-known example. It might not be a path most would choose or admire, but you can't deny it led to significant wealth for her, at least for a time.
And I think Fisher's key point here isn't judgment. It's about clear-eyed assessment. Don't judge the road. Understand its landscape.
Precisely. Every single one of those 10 paths has potential downsides, costs, sacrifices.
Can you give examples?
Sure. Take the corporate route.
Hmm.
You might face intense pressure, really long hours, maybe feel like you're compromising personal values sometimes. That's a potential cost.
Okay.
Or if you're trying to make it as an artist, right?
Okay.
Road number 4. You might have to endure years, maybe decades of financial instability before, or if you get recognition.
True.
And entrepreneurship, starting your own business, it inherently carries the risk of failure, losing everything you invested.
So it's about going in with your eyes open.
Exactly. Making choices with a full understanding of those potential downsides. It's not about labeling a path good or bad morally, but about honestly asking yourself, am I willing and able to deal with these specific challenges and sacrifices this road demands?
Okay. Now, shifting gears just a little bit, Fisher's fourth core principle is one I think many people will find maybe encouraging.
Which one is that?
Timing, leverage, and courage matter more than IQ.
Ah, yes. This is a really critical point. Fisher argues that while being smart is definitely helpful, no doubt about it,
Sure.
it's not the primary thing that determines whether someone builds wealth. Strategic execution is often way more important.
And that execution involves what?
Well, effectively using leverage, and that could be financial leverage, using technology to scale, building a great team, even just optimizing your time effectively. That's leverage.
Okay,
And
leverage.
it's about timing, recognizing opportune moments, and actually acting on them. And maybe most importantly, having the courage. The courage to take calculated risks and to keep going when you hit those inevitable setbacks.
And who's a better example of this than, say, Elon Musk?
Right. Perfect example.
Think about it. He leveraged the money from selling PayPal, capitalizing on that huge moment in online finance to fund these incredibly ambitious, super high-risk ventures like Tesla and SpaceX.
Ventures that a lot of people thought were crazy at the time.
Totally.
Yeah.
Long shots. He consistently showed he was willing to bet big, huge, and just persevere even when things look really bleak.
And what's fascinating about Musk, it isn't necessarily that he's the single smartest person in every single field he jumps into. It's that strategic vision.
Yeah.
His ability to pull together resources and talent, that's leverage right there. His incredible sense of timing for entering these new markets, and just that sheer audacity, that courage to go after these seemingly impossible goals.
It really backs up Fisher's point, doesn't it? That strategic action driven by conviction and resilience often outweighs just having a high IQ when it comes to building serious wealth.
Absolutely, which leads nicely into Fisher's fifth core principle. This one adds another dose of crucial reality.
Okay, what is it?
The road less traveled may have less traffic, but it's still hard.
Yeah. So burst the bubble of finding some easy secret path.
Pretty much. It's a counterpoint to that, often romanticized idea that if you just discover some obscure or unconventional niche, it'll somehow be an easier ride to wealth than the established routes.
Right, like finding a shortcut.
Yeah. Fisher's basically saying, look, whether you're pioneering a new technology, building some tiny niche consulting firm, whatever it is, any path that leads to significant wealth is going to demand substantial effort.
No easy ways out.
No. Unwavering dedication, persistent perseverance is never a walk in the park.
And a good example here might be James Dyson, right? The vacuum cleaner guy.
Perfect. It wasn't just some sudden flash of brilliance that made him a billionaire overnight.
Not at all.
He went through literally thousands of failed prototypes. Years of rejection before he finally perfected that bagless design. That's the often unseen grind of the inventor road.
Thousands of prototypes. Wow. That's perseverance.
It really is. And then, maybe conversely, you think about someone like Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay, the sales road taken to an extreme.
To an absolute extreme, yes. He achieved massive financial success temporarily through incredibly aggressive sales tactics. But look at the cost. Intense pressure, huge ethical compromises.
This is ultimately a dramatic fall.
Exactly. It just highlights that even paths that might seem to offer quick rewards still demand immense effort and can have massive hidden costs and risks.
So the big takeaway here is no matter which of those 10 roads you decide to go down,
Yeah.
you have to be ready to commit fully. You need to play it strategically, stay focused, and just ditch any illusion that any path to serious wealth is going to be some kind of leisurely stroll. It just isn't.
Well said. And that brings us really neatly to Fisher's final thought, which kind of ties everything together. Rich isn't just a number, it's a design.
Ooh, I like that. It's a design. What does he mean by that?
He finishes by stressing how critical it is to personally define what rich actually means to you. It's not just about hitting some arbitrary number in a bank account.
Right, it's more than just the money.
Way more. Is it about achieving financial independence so you have total control over your time and your choices? Is it having the freedom to chase your creative passions without worrying about paying the bills? Is it about gaining influence or making a specific kind of impact on the world?
That is so important because, as Fisher points out, maybe the biggest tragedy isn't picking a hard road to wealth.
What is it then?
It's getting to the end of that road, maybe having piled up a lot of money and realizing it aligns with someone else's definition of success, not your own.
Oof. Yeah. You might have the big house, the fancy car, whatever. But if it hasn't brought you the freedom or the fulfillment you were actually seeking deep down.
Then have you really achieved richness on your own terms?
It's a profound question, really.
It really is. So, okay, we've covered these big principles. How do we take these insights and actually, turn them into action? Fisher gives some practical steps for designing your own wealth roadmap, right?
He does, yeah. Very practical. First, he says, choose your road. Maybe it's one primary road, maybe a secondary one too, from that list of 10.
Okay.
But, and this is the key part, make sure that choice genuinely aligns with your core values, your natural abilities, and your personal comfort level with risk.
Yeah.
Don't just pick the one that looks shiniest or easiest on the surface.
Right. Back to that self-awareness piece.
Exactly. Then second, he really emphasizes studying people who've gone before you. Find individuals who successfully walk the path you're choosing and achieve the kind of results you admire.
Learn from the masters.
Yeah. Analyze their strategies, figure out what worked, what didn't, learn from their mistakes, and then adapt those lessons to your own situation.
Makes sense. What's next?
Next, he stresses commitment. Total commitment. Don't just dabble. Don't put in a half-hearted effort.
Go all in.
Pretty much. The people who achieve big things financially, they typically immerse themselves completely in whatever road they've chosen.
Okay.
And the last point.
Finally, he reminds us to measure progress not just in dollars and cents, but also in terms of the freedom and the opportunities that wealth actually gives you. Remember, money is a tool.
A means to an end.
Exactly, not the ultimate goal itself.
Got it. So to kind of wrap up our deep dive into Ken Fisher's The 10 Roads to Riches, the potential to build wealth, it's there. It's accessible.
But it's not free.
No. It demands a conscious choice about your path, a really clear understanding of the price, the demands, the sacrifices involved, and then that unwavering perseverance to just stay the course, even when it gets tough.
Fisher definitely isn't offering some kind of get-rich-quick guarantee. That's not the book.
Not at all. What he provides is clarity, a really grounded, realistic perspective on the different ways wealth is actually built in the real world.
And, in a world that's just saturated with often unrealistic, hype-filled financial advice, that kind of clarity, well, it's incredibly valuable. It really is. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. As you go about your day, maybe actively consider which of those 10 roads really resonates with your personal goals, your aspirations, your capabilities.
And maybe even, what's one small, concrete step you could take, maybe even today, just to start exploring that path a little further?
Good challenge. Okay, to close, please don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify, to stay sharp and never miss a drop of knowledge that could change your financial life. Thank you.